Hello, freak bitches.
And before I forget, the reason I wanted to show that video was I got you something. This is Leo May's wife. So you have the knife from Leo May. His wife made you this right here. And so because from our second JRE episode, I believe, we funded a water well there in Babofi. And so she's really talented. I mean, it might not look like too much here, but
wow, it's cool. What is it made out of?
It's bark cloth. Wow. So it's tree bark cloth, and when they take the bark off the trees, fine. But they that used to be what they would make their clothing out of. Their clothing, they would make other materials out of them. They can make these little kind of carrying cases or backpacks kind of out of it.
Do they treat it with something? Like, how do they get it so soft?
They pound it down, and I haven't seen the whole process, but I've seen the bark and where they pull it off, and then they kind of beat it down until it's this like cloth. I know that this right here, wow, when I've been doing research, they have those Mabuti Pygmy paintings that are made out of bark cloth at like our National Museum of History in New York. They have a few of these there, and so it's kind of cool to see. I don't know. I just was excited to bring it back to you. I think awesome, I got a picture of said painting, and it's Mama Leo May, and she's painting it for you. So
that's awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
and thank her, please.
I will.
That's so cool.
I will. They just when I go back, sometimes they're like, "Hey." Like,
that's her making it there?
Think your friends. Yeah, so that one's not the same one. I actually didn't think to, or I didn't get a picture of it whenever she was painting this one, but I got a picture of her doing some other ones. That's Mama Swazi, and she's pretty great at it as well. And so they just, yeah, I mean, that's a little bowl, little leaves. This paint that you actually have there they had some leftover black paint, but sometimes on that other photo, they just use like cassava or berries and they beat it up, pound it down and make this paint out of it, but it kind of fades over time. So this one's one where, yeah, that's it right there, where they just pound up the stuff, and it's part of their culture. It's what they love to do. They kind of how you saw Leo May passing down, the farming. And that video was actually Sangi over here from that handprint that you got. It's his grandson. And this is what the women pass down to their girls, is how to make this bark cloth and how to paint. So
wow,
it's pretty neat, their culture. Like, they just do everything together. They rally around each other. They're happy together. They sing, they dance, but they also suffer together. If one person in the community is lost, even for instance, so it might sound weird in our culture, but let's say a mother passes away who's like she's breastfeeding, right? And she passes away, but the baby survives. Some other woman in the village will take the baby up and start taking care of that little one. And there is an adoption in the pygmy culture. Like, no one needs to be adopted because the community rallies around them. When someone's lost, they all mourn the death together, but then they rally around that family and see how they can all help and put in. So it's pretty cool. I love it. I've learned a lot from them.
Well, that's how people used to be, man.
Yeah.
That's the original sort of tribal life of human beings. They would all raise each other. Christopher Ryan had this whole take on it in Sex at Dawn, and McKenna had a take on it as well, where they were talking about these ancient cultures. Because of these small groups of people, they were much closer. They knew everyone in the community. It was intensely important. And that there's a lot of people that think that some of the problems that we deal with today in society are because of this disassociation that we have with our neighbors, and we don't have a real sense of community. I mean, I know like 2 or 3 of my neighbors, and I see them once a year.
Yeah.
I say hi, wave, how's everything, man? Everything cool? All right, good seeing you. But that's it. There's no real community. There's no interaction. There's certainly no contribution as far as like working together to gather food or water or anything like that. And I would imagine that these people were just intensely close.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That must have been a big part of the attraction to them, like when they took you in and you were living with them. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the average Mabuti Pygmy village is only 85 to 150. On our 10 villages that we help and have the 3,000 acres of land, it's over 300 for each village.
Do you know about Dunbar's number?
Mm-mm.
Dunbar's number is a number that, I mean, it varies, but the number's somewhere around 150 for most people. There's a number of people that you can keep close relationships with.
Oh, wow.
That you really only have room for 150 people in your head. You essentially have hard drive space.
Wow.
Yeah, and that seems to be related to ancient tribal communities that people
makes
had,
sense.
that we developed that way.
Yeah.
That we developed these small groups of 50 to 150 plus people.
Yeah.
And then when you get larger than that, things get weird.
Yeah. Well, no, that's so true. Like whenever I went through the 6-year battle with Oxy and just narcotics or pain pills, like I don't know, I would always be able to isolate super easy, right? Because when you're in your home, you're completely alone.
Yeah.
And so it's different when you're in a village, and with the pygmies, you saw some of those huts, how small they are.
Yeah.
You know, seriously, in several of them, whenever I'm sleeping, I have to sleep in the center, and I have to have my feet out the door because it's so small. But it's, you only go in there when you're going to sleep. Or if you're not feeling good and you need some rest, or the sun's right over your head and you're hot. But besides that, you're cooking, your kitchen's outside. That's where the people is. That's where you do life, is outside of your home, around the campfire. We call it Campfire University because that's where we've been taken to school from the pygmies. That's where they teach us the most about life, is around the campfire, learning their culture, learning about their kids, learning about the hunts, learning about how they make this, make that. And it's where you get to do life together. And so it's something really, really cool. Honestly, I told them, they want to know a little bit about my life. And I told them that I went through drug addiction for 6 years. And, you know, they don't really struggle with that at all. And then I told them I got really depressed. And I told them I got really sad. And I told them that I got so sad that I decided one time to take as many pills as I could and drink, it was like half a bottle of Everclear or more, and snorted a bunch of Coke and just wanted to end it all. So, I mean, I told them that I was suicidal, and I won't ever forget how they looked at me almost dumbfounded, in a way of like, and then one of the questions the chief asked me said, well, wouldn't hurting yourself only hurt you? And so the whole concept of, I guess what I'm getting to is, they had never heard of anyone killing themselves. Like maybe they had heard stories or something like that, but they have never known anybody that actually killed themselves or heard of it. It's not something that their community, their culture, the pygmies kind of untouched out in the forest, or even not up in the cities. Like, that's just something that they don't struggle with there. They're struggling so much day in and day out with struggles that are so deep, and they see their family and they do life together, that I think they just have so much more of what we were just talking about, so much more of a support system, people that will rally around them. When you lose a family member, everyone rallies around you. Like, whenever I go to the funerals, it's the worst thing in the world. The sounds, like, people don't try to compose themselves. They don't try to dress the body real nice and have flowers all around. And now losing, loss of life is always tough, always terrible. But there's something we do here in our culture where we make it, try to make it as nice or smooth or almost pretty as possible. You know, the person's dressed really nice and has the flowers, and you compose yourself to come there. You gather yourself, you prepare the eulogy. There's a program when you step in there. People get handed something and you know what's going to happen there, so you kind of can all compose. Man, there it's just so ugly. It's so raw. It's so real. And it's so like in your face, and it just rips your heart open, to where people are mourning. I saw J-Lua, whenever Bobo, me and Ben were the ones that told J-Lua, he's the chief, about his grandson passing away. We were there when it happened. He wasn't around. He was out collecting or gathering. And we met on the same path together, and he saw it in our face, that he knew Bobo was sick, but now he knew that he was gone. And I remember J-Lua just falling on his back into this, off the side of the footpath, into like this pile of brush, like probably 2-3 foot tall, where he like sunk into it, and he was just squirming on his back. You know, he's like in his 60s, and he's watched so many of his grandchildren like pass just because they don't have clean water, and seeing him squirming, almost wanting to like crawl out of his skin, you know. And so, but I don't know. I don't want to be a bummer. I'm just.
No, just express yourself. Don't worry about that.
but then how the whole community, all 150, 200, 300 people that were there, all mourned together. Like we shared it. Like I cried in a way that was like, you know, like
Right.
like wiping my tears with everybody, because everyone was mourning. Everyone was crying. It wasn't just a few people. It wasn't just his mom and his dad, his mom Macho. It wasn't just J-Lua. It was the whole village cried together. And so, I don't know, but for me, that makes it seem like, I don't know if this, I don't want to make too many connections between our culture because they're completely different, or a lot different, but I think here a huge cause of divorce is the loss of a child. But there, it almost unites the parents, so much so whenever they lose a little one. And I don't mean to make this comparison, but it's like, I think it's because when they mourn, they truly go to the depths of the darkest place, and they're able to truly almost get it out, if that makes sense. Where when you're at the funeral, you let yourself go. You just let go. And it's okay, however ugly or however you handle it, whatever emotions come, you just ride that wave, if that makes sense.
Do you think that because their life is so difficult, that life itself becomes more precious and the loss becomes more powerful, or more intense, more raw?
Wow. Yeah, I needed you to sum that up for sure. Yes, I do. I think whenever you struggle so much, you become so much more appreciative and grateful of life, of every breath you take.
That's got to be connected to their lack of understanding of suicide, because our idea of what a difficult life is, it's difficult, but there's food and shelter and there's, and really the easiest place to live in the world, all those things connected. Whereas with them, just staying alive is such a struggle, and getting water, which is so easy for us. Anybody can walk in any bathroom and any gas stop, turn the water on, water comes out. I mean, everybody, water's not hard to get in America. Even with droughts, it's easy to get water. We water fucking golf courses with millions of gallons of water every day.
Yeah.
Our understanding of what a struggle is so different.
Yeah, and I think whenever we struggle here, we can go hide away, and we don't have to deal with it. Right. We don't have to have conversations about it. We can almost escape it. We can escape it with our toys, with our technology. We can just bury our face in our phone or a computer, or sit and watch a movie. And like whenever those uncomfortable feelings come up, we can try to ignore them or suppress them, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it's almost, man, this is going to be a weird, strange curveball or left turn, but it's almost like I've started floating recently. And whenever I go in there, into the tank, it's like you're left alone to your thoughts, right? You don't have that technology, you don't have this. And so you can deal with stuff, and you can try to focus and let go. And for me, it's been really beneficial. And so I know that sounds weird for me to make that connection, but whenever you're just left alone with your own thoughts, you can go deep.
Yeah. And
I feel like our culture here, well, okay, if we compare, and I love our culture, I'm not saying there's so much wrong with it, but I feel like there, in relationships, you go an inch or two wide and you go a mile deep in the Congo. You get to know people. And then here, a lot of times, you go a mile wide, but you only scratch the surface. You don't go beneath the topsoil that much. So you do sometimes with few people. There's only few people we trust with that, But it's almost like there, everyone's so open to going deep with one another. And because of that, you get to know each other better. You get to truly hurt when they hurt. You get to laugh when they laugh. You get to cry when they cry. And man, I don't have to keep going on about it, but
please. Listen, don't apologize. There's a real argument for the way that we live right now is not a way that we were designed for. Meaning that not that it can't be sustainable or manageable, and you can't figure out a way to live a harmonious life in the modern context, right. But that a lot of people think that we would naturally fit right in a tribal environment, that it would feel natural. And a lot of people experience that when they go camping for long stretches of time, when they're out in the woods together, you know, for whatever reason. They just decide to find a place and live off the land. I mean, that's why I think a lot of those shows, like those subsistence living shows, like those
homesteading kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's very it's very attractive to people because I think there's a longing in our DNA even where it just there's a pull. There's a pull to that. Man, I would love to just grow kale and raise chickens and live off the farm. I mean, there's a lot of people that feel like really, really attracted to that. And I think it's something deep in our being that we're longing for this connection to the real world. We've done an amazing thing creating cities. It's stupendous. It's almost beyond our comprehension because we're a part of it. You know, we're a part of it. It's normal. You get on the subway, you get in your car, you drive through the city. It seems normal. But it's so far removed from every single aspect of our history. I mean, this is so new. It's so recent. I think these people are just more in tune. I mean, it's horrible that they have to deal with these situations, like the lack of water and toilets and the diseases and all the other struggle. But man, there's a part of what they're doing and the way they're living that just seems like they're more in tune in a natural way.
Yeah.
Right?
You would think that they would be more depressed.
Right.
And but like you heard Leo Mays laughing that when they asked him about the bananas, and he just got tickled. You know, he couldn't hold himself from just laughing and saying, "I can't count that much."
You take someone from Beverly Hills and say, "Hey, this is what we got for you. You can grow bananas now." They're like, "Fuck you! How do I get out of here? First class only." You know?
Right.
Where's my iPhone? Yeah.